This is Gemara Avodah Zarah Daf Ayin Dalid, and I've learned for this month, the month of Elul. Ani l'toidi li, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is found. Basada has been sponsored as an incredible schos aliyas neshama of Aster Reyzel, Basar Meir, B'siyata Deshmaya, the incredible Koyach HaTorah should bring Aster Reyzel Bas Rameir's neshama to a higher and higher place in Gan Eden Shel Maila. So we have a few days left of this incredible Masechta. We're holding an Ayin Daled Amud Aleph on the top line. A lot of the incredible Yesaidos of Bittul, all the tenets of Yeridea. Says the Mishnah, Elu Asurin V'Isrin B'Kolshu. As we started seeing in the previous Dafim, the following entities are Asur, and are Asur B'Kolshu, and they make something Asur in any smallest amount. And lists the Mishnah, Yayin Esech, which of course we've learned about extensively, V'Avodas Gechavim, Avodah Zarah, V'Oiros Levuvim, heart-pierced skins, which is also a form of Avodah Zarah, Rashi says, as we learned prior in Daf Chavtas. V'Shar HaNisko, an ox that is stoned, an ox that it gores and therefore is condemned to be stoned. Ve'egla arufa, v'tzipayrei mitzaira, the birds of the mitzaira, v'shar, nazir, the hair of a nazir, upetach hamar, the firstborn donkey, ubasar bechalav, if you have a mixture of milk and meat, useir hamishtaleach, the animal that is, not the animal, the goat, the seir that is sent out, that's Yom Kippur, and chulin that was shechted in the azara. All of these entities, hare'elu asurin va'isrin b'kol shehu. So we know this list from Yayin Esech, but the Mishnah now teaches us that there's a whole list of items that they're not only that they will asur something else even in the smallest of quantities. Says the Gemara, Tana Maika Chashiv. Says the Gemara, what is our Tana listing that it's not going to be batal? Meaning Chashiv. Meaning Chashiv, meaning what makes it part of the list? Meaning Chashiv. If any item which is davar sheva minyan, any item that is counted, and that's the reason why it asers b'kol shu is that could be batal. Listening nami chatichas nevela, piece of nevela should be the same. But if the entity is no, it's not a vardin counted. It's an entity which is aser b'hanos. Then there's one that's missing as well. Listening nami chametz b'pesach. Then as well it should have listed chametz on Pesach. So says the Gemara, what is the entity that creates this category of asering b'kol shehu? Amar Rav Chia bar Abba v'yitem Rav Yitzchak Nafcha Hai Tana Tarti Islay. Our Tana holds of two different qualifications in order for it to be asering b'kol shehu that will never be batal. Number one, it has to be davar sheba minyan, and number two, isuri hana. And therefore, the reason why both chatichos nevela and chametz b'pesach is not listed because it only has one of the two. Asks the Gemara of Lisnei Goizei Perach. But if that's true, if it needs both of these qualifications, so it shall list nuts of Perach and v'rimoine badon pomegranates, which are both entities of Arla that are what? Both davar sheva minyan and isuri anahu. They check both boxes. They have both qualifications. Says the Gemara, Hatana lei hasam. No, we already learned them over there. Over there, a Mishnah and Arla already listed these two entities. That what? Harayula Arla really klaya karem. And that's the reason why it doesn't relist them in our Mishnah, because we've already learned this yisoid with regard to these items, that they are a davar that will aser b'kol shehu, as there will be no bittul. Says the Gemara, why isn't the bread of a balabayis le'inyan chametz b'pesach? listed as well, because such as an entity, as Rashi articulates, as we could anticipate, that is a davar shebeminyan because it's a kikar of albayis, and what? And it's aser b'kolshu because it's chametz and pesach. So why is that not listed? Explains the Gemara. Man shamis ta'amar le Rav Akiva. Man shamis ta'amar la. Who is the opinion that holds this adin? Rav Akiva. Hatana le asam. Rav Akiva ma'isaf kikar shav albayis. Over there, in that Mishnah in Arla that we just listed, over there it added on what? It added on such an entity. It added on Av Kikarisha Balabayis. It added on that these are entities that are also part of this list of something which is a davar shebeminyan, and it's something which is aser b'hana, and that's the reason why it will aser b'kol shehu, as there will be no bittul at all. We continue with quoting the end of the Mishnah. Harei the end of the Mishnah says, these are the items which aser b'kol shehu. Or asks the classical kasha, what is this line of the Mishnah coming to include? Limute mai, what's this coming to include? Explains the Gemara, Lut davar shebeminyan v'lav isurei hana. Not limute isurei hana, v'lo davar shebeminyan. So after the list of the Mishnah, when the list of the Mishnah concludes, says these are asurin, v'asurin b'kol shehu, that includes if it's one or two of them. So we just learned to the Gemara that why did we list these specific items? Why was the Mishnah not more inclusive? Says the Gemara, you know why? Because you need both. The Mishnah then ended and the Mishnah said that no, Harei Elu. So what's the Harei Elu coming to include? The Harei Elu is coming to include if you have one or two of the items. And with that we continue to the next Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Yayin Nesach Bar Kuli Asur, Yayin Nesach falls into a pit, a cistern of wine, the entire cistern is Asur Be'ana, Rashba Goimer. Yimacher Kulai La'akam. No, you can sell everything to Goy Chutz Midimei Yayin Nesach Shabai. So it says of Shimon Gamliel, there's a way to salvage. There's a way to salvage that which you have. And the way to salvage that which you have, the way to salvage that which you have is if you sell it. You can sell it to a guy, even though it's aser b'hana. So you subtract from the total sale that which was the value of the yayin nesach. Says the Gemara, Amar Avalach Rashbag, that is how we paskin. Chavis bechavis, that if we have a case of a barrel of yayin nesach mixed up with other barrels of wine, then we paskin like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. However, avalo yayin b'yayin, not wine that mixes with wine. Shmuel Amar Afil yayin b'yayin. V'chein Amar Rav Rachan Amar Rav Yochanan Afil yayin b'yayin. V'chein Amar Shmuel Nasan Rav Yochanan Afil yayin. V'chein Amar Rav Yochanan Amar Rav Afil yayin b'yayin. Amar Rav Nachman Alach Kilam Ma'isa yayin nesach yayin v'yayin os chavis b'chavis mutter stam yayin afilu yayin v'yayin mutter. So it's going to be two different levels. Says the Gemara Alach Lamaisa. It's going to depend. It's going to be stam yainam, which is wine that belonged to a guy, or it's going to be wine that we know is yayin nesach. The Amid says the Gemara, the new Mishnah, gas shel evan. We have a wine press, a gas. What is the halacha with such a stone of wine? And what happens with this wine press? Shezavsa akum. That the guy came along to this press, and he was mizayif, not in the word of forge, but rather in the word of zephes, as in pitch. He pitches, he lines this stone with pitch, and therefore the stone is now covered with yayin nesach. The halacha is minagva. If you dry it off, v'ta'ira, it's going to be tahar. V'shel eitz, if it's a press of stone, Rabbi Omer Yinagiv, Chama Omer Yiklef. No, it's not enough to dry it. You have to peel off as a zephes. Shal cheretz, Aval Bishakol, if it's a zephes, Arizeu Asura. So we have different levels over here. If it's made out of cheretz, says the Gemara, you can't you can't do anything to it. But if it's made out of evan, then you could potentially just dry it off. And it's made of eitz, it's machlekes if drying it off enough, or if you could just peel, if you need to peel it. Says the Gemara, what does it mean to dry it on my rava? Dafka zavsa. When the Mishnah says you can dry it off, it's only if it was coated with pitch. Avodah Zarah, but if it was already used, it was used for a maisa dricha, it was used to actually stomp on the grates, lo, it will not be enough to dry it off. Says Mabshita, Zavsatzanan, that's what the Mishnah says. So explains the Gemara, Ma'uda Tema, who I didn't have the same din should be true, afilu darach ba. I would have thought that what? The same din is true, even if you used it to squash the grapes. Then no, it's dafka in that case. It's not going to be enough, says the Igad Yamri, Benigov, to dry it off. She does off such an amount more than I feel dark above or think Tanis of Sorach, the most Katani Kamashmalon, Dafka Zov, Darkba, Loi, Sagi Law, Benigov. It will not be enough. Kehidasa, says the Gemara, bring you a raya. Kehudasa, like I made the Rav Chia. There's a story that came in front of Rav Chia, Amar Lei, said to Rav Chia, Havli Gavra. Give me a person that who can purify my winepress for me. Amrlei. So Rav came. Rav Chia said to Rav, Zelbadei, go and help him out. V'chazi, Deloy mitzavchta alai b'midrash, and see that they're not going to scream about me in the base of Midrash. Azal chazi dave shiatfei. So he went and he saw that this winepress was extremely smooth. Amar Rav Sev, Havadei benigov sagila. It's certainly drying it is enough. But because of us, so as they were going, Chazet Pili Mituse, he noticed, hey, he thought that it was fully smooth. We noticed Pili, he noticed a crevice on the bottom of the wine press. And he saw that what happens when you have a crevice. The whole problem of a crevice is that it can be filled up with liquid. It's filled up with wine. He said, hey, this is not enough with nigov. Ella bikilo, if you have to actually peel off, you have to remove a coat of the item because it could be this wine that's stuck inside. And this is what Chavivi, his uncle Rav Chia, said, be extra careful that they're not going to scream about him base medrash, meaning be certain that it would be enough in such a scenario just to dry it. Says the Gemara, Tanarabanan, continuing how we purify, how we retire different parts of a wine press. A wine press, a dipper, and the funnel shalakum. Rabbi Matir beniga v'chachamim. Rabbi says drying it enough. Chacham say no. Umaydir Rabbi kakan shalakum. That what the jugs shinasurim. My average bein zelazeh says the Gemara. I don't understand. What's the chalik? Zeh machnisay bekiyum. V'zein machnisay bekiyum. Says the difference is one holds the wine for storage and one does not. And since it holds the wine for storage, it's not going to be enough just to dry it because it's going to get absorbed in. We know that even a cold item, if it sits there long enough, it creates a bliya. Therefore, it won't be enough just to dry it. What if it's made of wood and stony nagiv? You could drive it on mizufafin. But if it was coated, then what? Asur, and it's going to be asur. What about our Mishnah? Kasha 11 Jaizav come in Agva Vitaira. Says the Gemara, Masizul Darachba. Braisa is the Darachba, and that's going to be the chiluk like we started seeing in the beginning of the Gemara, whether it's Darachba that drying it will not be enough. Omar Mar says the Gemara, we're going to stop over here, as the Gemara now is going to restate the previous Braisa and going through all the different processes necessary to clean out the different parts of the wine press. We'll pick it up from here, B'siyata Dishmaya.